Welcome to the club!
Hello everyone guys, and thanks for joining. Today we are starting to discuss a new book. Olga, will you please tell us what book it is?
This is one of the best books I've ever read, and this book is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. And yes, again, I have a story about this book. I bought this book in 2014 in the USA, yes, because I took a part in work and travel program. I wanted to read something because I had a job there, but I also had some free time, and I decided to read something, but I didn't have any books with me. And I went to a bookshop and asked a shop assistant to help me to choose the book, which is not very difficult, but it is quite gripping. She recommended me this book, and I bought this book, but I think couple of days later I found another job and I didn't have any time to read at all because I worked so hard the rest of my program, and I just brought it here. Later I wanted to read it because I've heard so much about this book, and I saw this book in different lists of books, 100 books that you should read in your life and so on. Then one summer I decided that I should read it.
Finally.
But again, yes, I didn't find any energy to do it in English because it demands more time and yes, more concentration, of course. That's why I decided to read it in Russian, and I really loved it. And I did it on my phone because I didn't have a printed book, and I didn't want to buy it because I had it in English, so why should I? And then a couple of years later I went to Moscow and I took a different book with me. But the book turned out to be quite boring for vacation. I decided to read a lighter story, and I went to a bookshop again. There were some books that I wanted to read, but when I saw To Kill a Mockingbird, I decided that I should reread it one more time. But I was a little bit scared because I thought that now I know the plot, I still remembered it, and there is a little mystery. I can't say that it's a big secret in this book, but it's just some slight mysteries, and I remembered it so well. That's why I thought maybe I would be a little bit disappointed because it would not be that interesting to read. But still, I decided to buy it, and I've got this book in Russian. Now I fell in love again with this book, and I decided to dig deeper and to find the information about the author. I found out that she had another book, and that's why I decided to buy another book. It is called Go Set a Watchman. Actually, before I bought it, I found out that it is exactly the same story as in To Kill the Mockingbird, but it is the first draft of the story actually. And it is written from a point of view of a grown-up woman who recalls some memories, who speaks about her childhood. Whereas this book is from the point of view of a little girl. So I had 3 books. Same story in 3 books now.
Also, when I started to prepare information about or finding information about Harper Lee, I also found out that there is this book that is called Go Set a Watchman, but I didn't know this information. I thought that it is some kind of a continuation of the story.
No, the story goes like that. So it was the first draft, and Harper Lee decided to publish it. So she went to the publisher, but the publisher said that the story is good, but you need to make some changes because it won't be the best story. The publisher told Harper Lee to rewrite it several times, and after several times, it was about 2 years, if I'm not mistaken. I do not remember the exact amount of time. They got the second draft, so it was not a draft, so the second story from the point of view of a little girl, and they gave it a name, To Kill a Mockingbird, and published it. Ghost at the Watchman was published in 2015, and it was published as a sequel, so you're absolutely right here, but it is the first draft.
Okay, a little bit confusing, but I understood what is the point, and I also have a small behind story. First, I read this book when I studied at the university on the third course, when we had foreign literature. The third year was the most difficult. Like 95% of the books we had to read, I didn't like strongly didn't like. And when I am made to read the books I don't like, I really get depressed. Maybe because my emotions get involved. To Kill a Mockingbird is the book that I really liked when I read it for the first time. I enjoyed it. I saw that it is really a masterpiece, and though the main story that is there is kind of like not very happy, but still this book gives some kind of warm atmosphere, warm vibe, and it gives hope. I read this book in Russian, and I never tried to attempt reading it in English. That's why I'm very glad that we decided to choose this book with you to read as a part of our book club. So let's, I think, talk a little bit about the author, so we just know who wrote this book, and maybe additional information about the author can help us understand the book better. Harper Lee, or in fact, her name is Nell Harper Lee, and Nell is the name of her grandmother spelled backwards.
Yeah.
But when Harper Lee was ready to publish the book, they decided, together with her publisher, they decided that they are going to use only Harper Lee as the name. She is American. This book, To Kill a Mockingbird, is, we can say that it is the only book she wrote.
She also has 5 articles, but I do not know if they are published in some kind of a book in English, but no books in Russian for sure, so no articles. But I think that you can easily find them on the internet, because I found some of them. I didn't check all of them, but I found a couple of them. One of the stories is about Christmas, so maybe I will read it. But I think that I know the story she is writing there about, because it was like in her biography, a part of her biography, but still I want to read it.
Okay. She was a friend with Truman Capote, who is also an author, a very famous one. For example, he wrote Breakfast at Tiffany and In Cold Blood. They say that the character of Delo is kind of like based on her friendship with Truman Capote. On the whole, this book is kind of like based on her observation of her life in childhood. So all of the characters can be seen as written from real people. Because her father also was a lawyer, Harper Lee at some point got into university and studied law for some time, but she didn't graduate, she didn't get her master's degree, and her father was a little bit upset about it. He tried to encourage her to finish her studies, but still she didn't. In 1949, she moved to New York City. Her friends gave her a gift for Christmas, and this gift was a year's wage. And they gave her a note that you have 1 year off from your job to write whatever you please. Merry Christmas. It's so nice when people have friends who understand you, who see the talent, maybe yes, and that they understand that the talent needs time. Writing a book needs time, a lot of time. That's why they just gave this wonderful gift, and we are now happy to have this book.
I found a video with the title A Reclusive Author, and I think it summarizes like whole her life, because she didn't give a lot of interviews, and she wanted to have some privacy in her life. That's why, yes, so this is a good title for a video about her life. But still, she gave some interviews, and I found the information that her father, as you said, he was not very happy when she abandoned her studies, but he was really proud of her when she had success, and that he signed using the name Atticus Finch.
Yes,
and
I
it's
remember.
it's so nice. It's quite a cool fact from the biography. I just found that she commented on the reasons why she didn't write a lot. She tried to write some books, but she wasn't happy with the result. She wasn't happy with the process, and that's why they were never finished. But in the interview, she said that there are two reasons. So one, I wouldn't go through the pressure and publicity I went through with To Kill a Mockingbird for any amount of money. And second, I have said what I wanted to say, and I will not say it again.
It's true that maybe there are people, there are authors who have many ideas and they write many books, and it's okay. But also I think it's also okay if a person writes only one book, but they express the idea they had and they don't want to continue writing something else. I also think it's okay. And of course, I think we should mention that this book won great critical acclaim, including the Pulitzer Prize for Fiction in 1961. I think it's like an Oscar for the literature.
Yeah, it was voted best novel of the century in a poll by the Library Journal in 1999. Speaking about her ideas, she also declined some invitations to different conferences and interviews, because she said that, well, it's better to be silent than to be a fool.
And we read the first 5 chapters this time. So we are going to share the summary with you, and I'm going to start. Scout, the narrator, remembers the summer that her brother Jem broke his arm, and she looks back over the years to recall the incidents that led to that event. Scout provides a brief introduction to the town of Macomb, Alabama, and its inhabitants, including her widowed father Atticus Finch, attorney and state legislator, Calpurnia, their cook and housekeeper, and various neighbors. The story starts with the first summer that Scout and Jem meet Delo, a little boy from Meridian, Mississippi, who spends the summer with his aunt, the Finch's next-door neighbor, Miss Rachel Haverford. From the children's point of view, their most compelling neighbor is Boo Radley, a recluse from none of them has ever seen. Delo's fascination, in particular, leads to all sorts of games and plans to try and get Boo to come outside. Delo goes back to Mississippi for the school year, and Scout turns her attention to starting first grade. Scout really doesn't like her first day at school and asks Atticus to teach her at home. But Atticus offers her a bargain, and Scout continues to study.
One day, getting back from school, Scout notices something shiny in a tree at the edge of the Radley's yard, and she finds a stick of gum. Scout continues to check the knot hole daily, and later she and Jim find some coins in the tree. The school year is over and Delo arrives to spend the summer. Jim suggests they play a new game called Boo Radley. They act out Boo's life until Atticus learns of the game. The children play the game less frequently after that, and Jem and Delo start spending more and more time together in the treehouse, not letting Scout take part in their games. Scout begins spending more time with Miss Moody. Scout asks the boys to let her in their plans, and they tell her that they are going to deliver a note to Boo Radley, asking him to come outside. Jim tries to deliver the note, but Atticus sees it and tells the children to leave Radley alone.
What do you think, or what did you like the most from this part?
The first impression I had was confusion with the names of the characters, because in Russian version, the scout, her nickname is Glazastik.
Yes.
And it has absolutely nothing to do with the word scout. And I tried to check the meaning of the word scout. Maybe it has some shades, some other meanings and so on. But I didn't really find anything except the first meaning. I found it interesting that the character Boo Radley is translated as Strashila Radley, and I'm used to this name as I read it 2 times in Russian. And it's just interesting that it's in English it is Boo Radley. It's difficult for me to talk about this story, to discuss this story in parts, because I remember the whole plot and I look at all the characters from the point of view that I know the story.
Of the whole story?
Yes, the whole story. But if we speak about these parts, well, actually about the whole book. So I really love the dialogues between Atticus Finch and his daughter, because I absolutely adore the things he says and the way he tries to explain something to a small child. And it is not easy because they have a difficult situation and everything is difficult there. Like a lot of poor people in this book, and the Finch's family is also not the richest ones. They also have problems with money, and they have no mother. Atticus Finch works a lot, but still he finds time to devote it to his daughter and speak to her, and I think it is very nice.
I also think it's very important, and I also think that the way he treats his daughter is very nice, because he doesn't just say something like do this and that because I told you so, for example, because I think many people don't know how to explain correctly some things to children, and they just order them to do as they say without explanation. But when people, parents, take time to explain why some things work this or that way, children start to understand it, and they know why they should do this or that way. And for me, frankly speaking, because I read the book quite a long time ago, I didn't reread it. That's why I remember what is going to go next, but not many details. That's why for me it's kind of like easier to discuss only this part. I wanted to read a little abstract from the story and discuss it. People moved slowly then. They ambled across the square, shuffled in and out of the stores around it, took their time about everything. A day was 24 hours long, but seemed longer. There was no hurry, for there was nowhere to go, nothing to buy, and no money to buy it with. Nothing to see outside the boundaries of Macomb County. But it was a time of vague optimism for some of the people. Macomb County had recently been told that it had nothing to fear but the fear itself. It's interesting what you think about the idea that it was the same 24 hours, but it seemed that there was more time. I think today the life is much faster. Today we have much more things to do, because I think all of us have those endless lists of books and TV series and movies to watch that we don't know if we ever are going to watch them. But those days they had like maybe a couple of books, and what they did, they played the scenes from those books to play. They didn't try to travel somewhere because the life was exactly the same everywhere. But these days it's completely different. So what do you think about it?
Yes, I absolutely agree with you, and I think that of course maybe it is not the best situation when you had no money, when you do not have any opportunities to do something that you want to do probably, or something that you need to do, so you know what you need to do, but you can't do it because you do not have any sources to do that. But you could find some advantages in this situation. You can live a life, like not distract on other things. I think that in modern life we have so many things to do that we really forget to live sometimes. What I mean that we do not pay attention to good moments, so something simple like the beauty of the trees, something like that. We just go and think that I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to pay for this and for that. And sometimes really you just you miss the greatest moments of your life. That's why maybe in their life they had an opportunity to notice it and enjoy it in some sort of way.
I agree. I think the faster the life is and the more things you are busy with make you feel more and more stressed, because you don't take time to analyze why you do some things. You just do them because you have to. For example, you work because you have to pay for food, for your rent, and for a lot of other things. But you can't stop it and take your time to think if you want to change your job. Because if you don't work, you don't have money to pay for your life, for your living. And it's very stressful, and of course it's one of the saddest things in life these days. That's why I also think that they could enjoy their time, and I really think their childhood was a very nice time.
And getting back to a wonderful personality of Atticus Finch, I also wanted to read an abstract. When Scout doesn't want to come back to school, he says, first of all, if you can learn a simple trick, Scout, you'll get along a lot better with all kinds of folks. You never really understand a person until you consider things from his point of view. And a couple of lines after, Atticus said, I had learned many things today, and Miss Caroline had learned several things herself. And I think that these words are so wise, and they can really help a child or a grown-up, yes, a grown-up person, because really sometimes we think bad about people who offended us, insulted us, but we do not see the situation from their point of view. Maybe they didn't even mean it. And yes, I absolutely love the idea that they both learned from this situation.
So it means that at any age, anyone in fact can really learn something new, and it is very important to be open to learn things. And you say that you should think about the feelings of those who hurt us, but in the first place I think we should also, even when we are in a bad mood or we are like maybe sick or something like that, we should try to control us not to hurt others. This is I also think very important, because sometimes for example, when you are in a bad mood, when you had a very busy day at work and you are very tired, but then after work, for example, you go shopping and you may be not very polite with a shop assistant, for example. I think that most of all, because we can control only ourselves, we should start with ourselves in the first place.
And another idea that was in Atticus's words, Mr. Yule shouldn't do that. Of course he shouldn't, but he'll never change his ways. Are you going to take out your disapproval on his children? And it's also a nice idea, because you can't judge a person just on his or her relatives, parents, because it's a different person.
I agree that this idea is extremely good, and we really should follow that. We shouldn't judge a person on his parents, on his relatives, on what they are doing, but we should look at what the person is doing and how he behaves.
Yeah, and one more idea about the prejudice against other people. You are too young to understand it, she said, but sometimes the Bible in the hand of one man is worse than a whiskey bottle in the hand of your father. So again, it is considered to be socially approved to believe in God, to follow their religious traditions, and that's why people think that religious people are better than people who do not follow all these things. But in fact, it doesn't mean anything, because you may just do it just
blindly,
because it's socially approval. Because it is good from the point of view of society.
It is the main reason, but also let's get back, for example, to the concept of loneliness. So if a person is lonely, he is trying to find something that is going to connect him to some group of people. And very often people they turn to religion. Because if they turn to religion, it is 100% that they are going to find new people, someone to talk to at least. And many people who started being religious, not, for example, at a young age, but at some later time in their lives, they might really go follow some things from the Bible blindly, only to please the people from the religious circle. I think it is very important to think what you are doing and do something you think is right from your point of view, not from the point of view of someone. So anything else to add about the plot of this part, or maybe we can go to the vocabulary?
Well, I think that I can talk about this book for hours, but it's time to go to the vocabulary.
I came across quite a number of words that I didn't know, and I looked them up, but I didn't write out many phrases. I have only 3, and my first is going to be run in the family, which means if a quality, ability, disease, or something like that runs in the family, many members of the family have it. And the abstract is: Jem was the product of their first year of marriage. 4 years later, I was born. And 2 years later, our mother died from a sudden heart attack. They said it ran in her family.
So my phrase is to be stripped of something. It is understood from the context, but if you do not have a sentence, maybe you should know the meaning of this phrase. So to be stripped of something, to take something away from someone, sometimes in a way that seems unfair or dishonest. Simon would have regretted with impotent fury the disturbance between the North and the South, as it left his descendants stripped of everything but their land.
My second phrase is to reduce to dust, which means to destroy or severely damage something. And the abstract is: when Delo reduced Dracula to dust and Jem said the show sounded better than the book, I asked Delo where his father was. You ain't said anything about him. I haven't got one.
Okay, the next phrase: to be admitted to the bar, to gain a qualification as a lawyer. When my father was admitted to the bar, he returned to Macomb and began his practice.
And my last phrase is going to be disorderly conduct. In law, disorderly conduct is the offense of behaving in a dangerous or disturbing way in public. And the abstract, I don't know, fortunately or unfortunately, is quite long. The town decided something had to be done. Mr. Connor said he knew who each and every one of them was, and he was bound and determined they wouldn't get away with it. So the boys came before the probate judge on charges of disorderly conduct, disturbing the peace, assault and battery, and using abusive and profane language in the presence and hearing of a female.
I have quite many phrases, but yeah, as you said, I had more words than phrases because there were a lot of unknown words, but not so many phrases. But still I have some. So the next phrase I want to mention is to the hilt. It means as much as possible. And also in the same sentence we have a word interest, which means a sum paid or charged for the use of money or for borrowing money. So the sentence: the acres not entailed were mortgaged to the hilt, and the little cash he made went to interest. The next word, racket, in the meaning of an unpleasant, loud, continuous noise. If I hear another sound from this room, I'll burn up everybody in it. Miss Caroline, the 6th grade cannot concentrate on the pyramids for all this racket. The next phrase is Sam Hill, and I really love the definition that was given by Cambridge Dictionary. So Sam Hill is a polite word for help, used to express surprise or strength of feeling. He would probably have poured it into his milk glass had not I asked what the Sam Hill he was doing. Another word, ekuti. So I haven't heard this word.
Me neither.
And it means a louse, this word, I know. There ain't no need to fear ekuti. I'll just fetch you some cool water. The next one, to be in fits, to laugh uncontrollably. Atticus kept us in fits that evening, gravely reading columns of print about a man who sat on a flagpole for no discernible reason. The next one, in a pig's ear. It is an exclamation of emphatic denial or disbelief of something. I helped the engineer for a while, said Delo, yawning. In a pig's ear you did, Delo. Asinine, extremely stupid. Lastly, we were to stay away from that house until we were invited there. We were not to play an asinine game he had seen us playing or make fun of anybody on this street or in this town. Surprise, surprise. I have more. Sit a spell, or also it can be set a spell, but in the book it was sit a spell. To sit down for a period of time, especially in the company of other people and in order to relax. Delo said, it's my idea. I figure if he'd come out and sit a spell with us, he might feel better.
Maybe one of the last things to discuss today, I would like to know your opinion about Miss Caroline. Yes, what do you think about this character?
Well, she's a stranger in this town, and she also, as far as I understood, she is new to teaching. She is quite young. That's why, of course, she makes a lot of mistakes. It is natural that she makes so many mistakes because she does not know about the people who live there, their traditions, their customs, their stories, the stories of their lives. That's why she can be quite rude and offensive. But I agree with Atticus that you need to look at the situation from her point of view. Of course, we cannot say that she's right, like that her behavior is okay, but somehow we can understand the reasons of her behavior. That's what I mean here.
I wanted to add only one thing, that to be a teacher, of course, is a very difficult and challenging thing. It's out of discussion. But still, we also should remember that the teacher is a person who communicates with children every day, and they set some kind of example. They are the reason if the children want to study or not. And as we can see, even after the first day at school, Scout didn't want to come back to school because she had so many problems with the teacher, even during the first day, that of course we can understand to some degree that Miss Caroline is a stranger, she is young, she is new to the town, to teaching, but still it is very important to remember those things. You might be the reason why children want to study or don't want to study. Of course, it is kind of a pressure on the teacher as on the person, but still it is what it is.
Of course, I agree with you, and I think that being a teacher, you need to praise children more, because it is the thing they want to hear. And I do not want to say that you should praise the child for every word, of course not, but if they do something, so you should praise them. And here, Scout was ashamed, so to say, for the fact that she was able to read
and write.
Yes, and it is a very strange.
Absolutely.
It's a very strange behavior of a teacher. And of course, so as I'm a teacher and I can put myself in Miss Caroline's shoes, and I can understand her, because in that strange society, when you have a small girl who knows how to read, the guy with cooties who has no idea what he is doing there and he does not understand what she is saying, the person who comes to a school just one day and then leave it and only comes back the next year. And I understand that it's very difficult, extremely difficult to teach them, because of course they have different backgrounds, they have different skills and abilities, and of course it requires a lot of energy, a lot of efforts to do this. But as you are a teacher, you should be able to cope with them and at least to try to do it. But here, at least in this part, it doesn't seem like she is trying to do something with it.
So guys, thanks for watching this episode. We are going to leave all our contacts in the description section. We are happy to find out your opinion on this book, whether you read it or maybe you're going to read with us. Live long.
And don't rush to judge others.
Thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye. No, сейчас подожди. Not that.
Идея, что ты хочешь сказать?
Ладно. And it is called to. I'm sorry. It is called Go set a watchman. Сейчас я скажу нормально.
And so.
Топ. Этот офф-топ.
Okay.
Логика, капец. I'm not sure how relevant this information is.
Never finished, never published.
Finished, ты сказала.
Сейчас скажу.
Atticus words. Что такое сложное слово? It is... Сейчас. That's the only thing I want to say about her.
The Scout, or again, what's her name?
Miss Caroline.
Yes. Сейчас скажу. Trying to follow the new circumstances. Circumstances. Я почему-то думаю про obstacles. Ну ладно, вообще капец.